Hey guys, welcome. It is I, Captain Foley, and I'm going to be talking to you today about a few things. One thing in particular. Let me know if you guys can see me and hear me properly. The quality looks very shitty on my end. Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. Hey, I see you. How is it? Does it sound good? Does it look good? Let me know. I can hear you and see you. Alright. Because it's really choppy on my end when I'm watching the live here, which is not great. But anyway, thank you guys for coming. We're going to wait for a few people to come on and join us before we actually get into the meat of the matter. I want to talk to you guys about the acronym STD, which is pretty hilarious. All right, good. I'm glad the quality is good, so that's awesome. First of all, so the commander's not joining me today. He's probably going to be doing his own live stream later this week, possibly on the weekend as a separate one, and we'll still be doing our live stream together on Sunday, as far as I know. Sylvia might actually join me on Saturday for a live stream as well. I know you guys like when the Admiral joins me, and she would have tonight, but she's, had a long day at work, and she wasn't prepared to do a live, so her hair was all, it's just women issues, her hair doesn't look good. So Joe Torres is here. That's awesome. 41 people watching. Cool. Do you mean making Discovery its own property separate from Star Trek? No, I don't. You'll understand what I'm talking about once I actually get into it. I don't want to start when there's not a lot of people here. I know I didn't give people a lot of warning that I was going live, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it is the Discoverse. It's like the Kelvin verse. It's its own separate entity. It's its own separate thing. There's been too many changes, too much done to it to really justify it in my mind as being prime Star Trek, unfortunately. I know they say it is, and they are the IP holder, so CBS gets to dictate what's canon. I understand all this, and they say it's prime, so it's prime. Clearly. However, in my mind, and how I refer to it now, is the Discoverse. A lot of people aren't going to like that, but it is what it is. That's what I'm going to be calling it from now on, because that's how I see it in my mind. That's the only way I can really justify it being a thing. 58 people and only 6 likes. Come on, guys, thumbs up. I just got ranked in the fleet on Lieutenant Junior grade. Sexual transmitted disease or Star Trek disco. Wow, I think you know what I'm talking about. No, you got to listen. And unsubscribing because you're using STD, such a dumb. I think it's dumb too. That's what I'm here to talk about today, actually. The Anthony Talarco, $2. Thank you very much. 66 people here. I'll just start. I know STD is one of the most annoying acronyms on the planet. It bothers me immensely that people use it all the time. I understand why the haters use it, because they've latched onto it. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it an STD if you want. However, by doing so, you are bringing Star Trek into it. The people that hate it and are calling it STD want it to be separate from Star Trek. They don't believe that it's Star Trek. So they should just call it Discovery or Disco. Because when you pull the ST into it, you're calling it Star Trek Discovery. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. By using the acronym STD, you are establishing and reaffirming the Star Trek brand on this product. Star Trek ST, Discovery D. You've got to stop it. I understand it's funny. It was funny for like a week. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. It's getting old now. And to be honest, if you really want to diss it and you really want Discovery. If you really want to diss it, you can do so by calling it Disco or Disc, DSC, whatever. But you're hurting your own argument by saying it's not real Star Trek. We hate it. We don't want it. We're going to call it STD. And yet, as such, calling it STD, you're bringing Star Trek into it by adding the ST. That's basically the gist of what I wanted to talk about, is that acronym and the fact that yeah, CBS does call it Disco. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I understand why people hate it. Okay, I totally understand why people hate it. It goes against canon. It breaks a lot of the Star Trek lore, and that's understandable. I understand why they call it STD, because a sexually transmitted disease is just hilarious, and it's they set themselves up for it by calling it Star Trek Discovery. However, you're putting Star Trek, you're associating the name Star Trek with it every time you call it STD. If you would just call it Disco or Discovery without the Star Trek, you're actually helping your case by saying that you hate it, in my opinion. It goes back to the whole abbreviation thing as well. Like, we don't call Star Trek Voyager STV. We don't call Deep Space Nine STDS9. It's just DS9. It's just Voyager, VOY. So I understand why people hate it. I get it. I understand the STD thing. It's funny. Haha. However, you are bringing Star Trek into the name when you use the acronym STD, unfortunately. Just something that I've noticed and kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. And I mean, you can disagree with me all you want. I know people are going to continue to call it STD. I get that. I understand that. I won't. Every time there's a comment on here that says STD, I do say Discovery. So yeah, see, people like Discovery, hate the term STD. I get it. Love Trekyards, but anti-Star Trek trolls are ruining the fun now. Well, we're not anti-Star Trek trolls, unfortunately. STD is kind of childish. I understand that. But like I said, as a Star Trek Discovery hater, the fact that you're calling it STD, you're bringing Star Trek into it. You got to stop. If you just call it Discovery, in 50 years from now, if people look back on these videos, they'll be like, what was Discovery? Because it might be forgotten, But as if it's STD, it's obviously Star Trek Discovery. So the people that are adamant that this show isn't canon and shouldn't be considered Star Trek at all, people like Doomcock, people like Mecha Random 42, you guys really hate it. You don't want it to be associated with Star Trek, and yet you continue to call it STD, and the ST stands for Star Trek. So my argument is, just call it Disco. Just call it Discovery. I think, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm looking at your thoughts here. What do you guys think? STDs are far worse than Discovery. Well, yes, they are. And a lot of people love it. A lot of people like the show. A lot of people hate it. Yeah, since you're dissing it, call it Diss. That's absolutely right. Or, hear me out here, because it might sound crazy. If you don't like the show, go get engaged in other fandoms. Leave it alone. Exactly. But I'm just saying, no matter what, there's going to be the haters. And no matter what, they're going to keep calling it STD, which implies Star Trek Discovery. Yet, their whole argument is, this isn't Star Trek, this isn't canon, CBS shouldn't have fed us this bunch of bullshit, whatever. That's their argument. And it's the anti-Star Trek sentiment, which is odd, because then they call it STD, which brings the name Star Trek into it. I know I'm repeating myself, but there's more people joining to see what it's about. So, and I get that a lot of people are saying the show's so bad that it is like an STD, and that's funny. I get it. It's ha ha ha. But fact of the matter is, that's just not the acronym, and every time they do it, they're pulling Star Trek into the name. So they're kind of defeating their own argument, because they say, if you listen to Doomcock, he's like, it's not Star Trek, it's blah blah blah, shouldn't be associated with Star Trek, it's not Star Trek, and yet he continues to call it STD, which implies Star Trek Discovery. That's the only point I wanted to make about this. So, a bunch of hair splitting. My gripe with Discovery is just canon breaking. Wow, these are flying through. Abbreviation, it's only an acronym if it forms a word. I prefer DIS. It fits the Voyager and Enterprise acronym. Yeah, exactly. And some people, really love the show, and that's fine. I mean, here at Trekyards, we look at the good and the bad of it. There's a lot about it I like. There's a lot about it I dislike. I'm not a hater, nor am I a shill for CBS sponsoring Discovery by any means. We look at the good and the bad. Samuel and myself don't always agree on what's good, what's bad about it. But when they say it's prime canon, we need to go in and look at that and examine what they show us on screen and compare that to prime canon and just show them how dumb their argument is that they say it's prime. So for me, it's the Discoverse. And for all the haters out there that continue to call it STD, you're just arguing your point. You're not arguing your point. You're nullifying your point almost. It's better to just take the Star Trek out of it altogether. Get rid of the ST in it. So there's a lot of people here. 141 now. Yeah, the Toxic Fandom video is pretty good. But anyway, guys, if you can help us out with super chats, that would be cool. I would love to sit here and chat with you guys. I'm going to only be on for about an hour, but I just wanted to address this acronym in the room. And I really feel that I have cat hair all over me. That's nice. I really feel that calling it STD is really reinforcing that it's Star Trek. And the haters are kind of in a catch-22 there, because STD is funny. It is like a sexually transmitted disease on the Star Trek name as far as they're concerned. And so I get where they're coming from. However, you want to take the Star Trek out of it because you keep saying it's not Star Trek. So to solidify your point, I feel you should call it something other than STD. Just a thought. Mecha Random 42 is here. Hello, Mecha. Actually, just talked about you a second ago. Anyway, what I'm saying, Random, and I'm sure you could pass this on to Doomcock, is that when you call, I know you guys dislike Star Trek Discovery, you want the Star Trek out of it, you don't feel that it is Star Trek, and yet every time you use the acronym STD, you're bringing Star Trek into it, because the S and T stand for Star Trek. It would be better for you guys to call it Disco, Disc, something like that. Even DIS. You can DIS on Star Trek Discovery and use DIS as its acronym. But every time you use the acronym STD, you're actually reinforcing that it's Star Trek Discovery, because the ST. So stop it. That's all I'm saying. I don't get all the hate either. I really don't. I mean, it's not what I would have made if I had the reins. However, shows need to grow and evolve and things like that. And as we've kind of learned, or as history teaches us, a lot of times people don't know what they want until you give it to them. And I know that it's going to cause ruffle a lot of feathers. I understand that, but I'm neither pro Discovery nor anti Discovery. As we say, we're very balanced here. We point out the good and the bad in all of it. And nope, STD is STD. Well, there you go. Yeah, well, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and so am I. So this is this talk that I'm having right now. It's just my point. Something that I've been thinking about for like a few nights now, and I thought I'd do a captain's log on it or something, and then I thought, no, it'll be a good video for a live, because I would love to get your thoughts on this. And feel free to super chat, guys. It is very important to the channel and really helps us out, as the ad revenue lately has been kind of blah. Wraith Leader, $5. Thank you very much. No message with it though, which is fine. In the 70s, there was a phrase, disco sucks. Maybe the haters can say that. Yeah, that's fine. It's not bringing Star Trek into it. So people that don't even know about the show, that aren't Star Trek fans, won't go, what's this, what's Discovery? Oh, it's Star Trek because it's STD? Oh, well, And then they start watching it and go, this is awful, or... I'm just saying, making your acronym STD, it's funny for the sexually transmitted disease thing. I do get it. It's kind of childish a little bit, but that's fine. At the same time, you're really hurting your argument because you're stating the facts that it's not Star Trek, and yet the very name you're calling it is Star Trek Discovery. Instead of just, for example, nobody calls it Star Trek Voyager. Everybody just refers to it as Voyager. And that's a name, that's a show that, if you're a Star Trek fan, should have Star Trek in front of it, because it's very much the exploration side of Starfleet, and it's a good show. So that's all the point I'm trying to make. I don't know if you guys agree with it or not, but I would love to hear your thoughts on here and kind of get some feedback from you guys, because it's really important to hear from you guys and really get your thoughts on things. So this is why I stay away from any public forums about Discovery haters, like the shit garglers in chat right now. Also why I post Discovery stuff just to piss them off. Their tears soothe me. See, it's just... I honestly 100% understand the hate. I really do. I get why people are taking such a stance. I also get the people that love it. I mean, it's something new. It's something new. I get both sides of this argument. I really do. It just bothers me to see the divide in the Star Trek fandom, the Star Trek community, because of this, though. It really bugs me. So, just a thing. I mean, yeah. But I would love to hear what you guys think. So if you want to shoot me a message, let me know what you guys think about this topic. I hope to still talk for another 40 minutes or so. I want to stay on for about an hour. Tilly is hot. Yes. Somebody just said, let's talk about how hot Tilly is. And it's funny, yeah, everyone who hates on Discovery still watched it. That's interesting because that's just a fact. It was in like the Howard Stern movie. He says something like, the people that love me watch almost all my stuff. The people that hate me watch every second of it so they can pick it apart. So the people that hate it actually watch it more than the people that love it. It seems to be the case. And I've always been of the mindset that you can't insult something, you can't pick something apart unless you know about it and are knowledgeable on the subject. So you need to watch it, even if you hate it, just so you can be informed on it. Because if you just hate it for the sake of hating it, you're misinformed, and you're not helping yourself at all, because you sound like an idiot if you don't know what you're talking about. So it's better to know exactly what's going on with the show. So the people that do hate it, I'm afraid, are going to have to watch it more often than the people that actually love the show, in my opinion. So yeah, sonar in space. I know, I get it. Yeah, I just want a good TV show too. And the point's been made as well that the other series, they all kind of needed to find their legs, to find their stride. It's usually around season 3, which seems to be the case for all of them pretty much. And unfortunately, TOS didn't get that chance, but it was a different formula for making TV back then. But I mean, TNG, you go back and watch some of those first season episodes, and it's kind of like, ugh. And I love Deep Space Nine. It's my favorite series, but to get through the first couple seasons of that is rough for me. It really is. It doesn't really get good till season 3. Specifically, the episode Way of the Warrior, when Worf comes on board, then it really fires up. So Enterprise was the same thing. The first few seasons were all right, and season 3 with the Xindi arc, I tuned right out. But going back and watching that again, as I did, I've actually really was surprised at how good it was, and I actually felt bad that I tuned out, because I think I'm one of the I and many people like me are one of the reasons that show failed. Was because we stopped watching when the Zindi art came on, and that's kind of sad. So Brian Grider, $2, TOS, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Ent, and Dis. Yes. So, I mean, there's a possibility that Discovery can get good, better than it is. I mean, a lot of people don't see any issues with it right now, which is fine. But I'm sure if it runs for 7 seasons, and we look back at this in 10 years and we go, wow, those first couple seasons of Discovery were really rough. Remember all that controversy? But no, season 3, season 4, they really get good then. We don't know, and that's the problem. I know that the people involved with it were responsible for the 2009 Kelvin films and a lot of other garbage. But that being said, there's a lot about the 2009 film I love, even though I'm not the biggest advocate of it. So I don't hate anything specifically Star Trek. I like to look at it and measure it and take it for what it's presenting to me, the good and the bad, and try to find a nice happy medium. I own everything Star Trek. I own all the Kelvinverse films, even though I'm not the hugest fan of them. Again, if you want to pick it apart, you need to know about it, so it's best to get educated on it. To pick something apart just because you saw 2 seconds of it and hate it, or you get a summary from somebody else, that's not really an informed, educated way to be a critic. Gareth Fairclough, £5. What? We can officially blame you now for Enterprise going down. I don't think Disco is going to make it past season 3 if it gets there. Who's to say? I mean, it could fail, especially with the new Picard thing. If it's absolutely fantastic, could be that Discovery falls by the wayside, and that's fine. That'll show them that it wasn't something that they should have done. It was a mistake. Let's move along. However, I think they'll probably push it a little bit farther than season 3, even if it is not doing the best. I think CBS has kind of dug their heels in and is being a little bit stubborn about it. So. Alexander Kolchak, $10, thank you. You are right, Captain. I'm not a huge fan of Disco either, but I like the Federation designs like the Europa, the Kerala, and the Disco Prize. They aren't period accurate, but cool. Exactly. The new Enterprise looks fantastic. I love it. John Eves did a fantastic job on it, with the restrictions that were placed upon him. And as I've said, had they said from the beginning this was a reimagining of a new timeline or a new universe, I would have been here the whole time going, you guys did a fantastic job. That one thing's not so great, but everything else is awesome for a new reimagined look. Fantastic job. But when you come out of the gate saying, here we go guys, this is Prime, let's shove it down your throat, when it's clearly not Prime, nothing about it is Prime. They went out of their way in Deep Space Nine, Trials and Tribulations, in Enterprise in the Mirror Darkly, in TNG Relics, to make sure that the Enterprise, the Constitution class, the interiors of the bridge, everything was spot on perfect, matched up with the 1960s look. Star Trek TOS, as Doug Drexler said, is a period piece. You can't go back and change it. It's like making a historically accurate Western, but having horses that pull hover carriages. We didn't like the wheels. The hover mechanisms are much cooler. We're going to use those. But this is still a period accurate piece. No, it's not. You have to make it look like it did in that time period. Star Trek isn't a product of our future. It's a product of the 1960s future, because that's when it started. So it needs to follow that corresponding bell curve and look like it did in the 2266 that we see in TOS. You can make that look a little bit better. You can tweak things, light them differently, film them with modern techniques, and they look fantastic, as we saw in Inner Mirror Darkly. That Defiant bridge looked amazingly cool. And it looked way more advanced than what we saw in TOS, just because of the way they lit it and the way they built it, in my opinion. So, yeah. As for the life expectancy of Discovery, I don't know. We've got to see what season 2 brings us. Wraith Leader, another $2. Thank you. Very much appreciated. You can leave a message, though. I'd like to answer a question or something from the Super Chat people. But just come out now and say, you know what, guys? Yeah, this isn't Prime. This is its own thing. This is its own parallel universe. We'd all be like, yes! But no, they're still like, this is Prime. By the end of this season, it will fall in line more visually with TOS. Okay. How? I mean, it's Star Trek. It's science fiction. Anything can happen. A being like Q or Trelane can show up and go, hey, well, this doesn't seem quite right. And then whoop, everything's fixed. Looks very similar to TOS. These things can be done. Whether they'll do it, I highly, highly doubt. But there's so many ways they could fix it and could bring it back in line. And by the end of the series, actually make some of the people that hate Discovery kind of go, maybe we were wrong, because they had this plan all along, which they didn't. They've been scrambling all through season 1 to fix all the changes that Brian Fuller had made and his, rules. There could be no cylindrical looking nacelles. That was one of the things he had handed down. Once he left, they had all these filmed. They had all this storyline. They needed to work with what they had and fix it. And you can see that very much in season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. It's very much pulled around and twisted, and especially at the end, it's very rushed because they wanted to get rid of that whole thing that had happened with Brian Fuller and just forget about it and start new. So the redesign of the Enterprise does, of course, have cylindrical nacelles because CBS isn't, or Brian Fuller isn't there anymore pulling the strings going, we can't have this, we can't have this, we can't have this look, we need it to look like this. So they were playing catch up. They really were behind the 8 ball when this whole thing started. I think Brian Fuller left for a reason. A lot of people weren't happy with his direction. So, I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Everybody was excited when Brian Fuller got signed on. I know Doug Drexler was like, he'll do it proud. I haven't talked to Doug since that, really, about Brian Fuller specifically. I'd like to hear his opinion, and Doug Drexler hasn't watched any of Discovery because him and a few other people that worked on the original shows and kept them visually in line and kept that love for Star Trek going were shafted big time by the Discovery people. But that's another story for another day. And we were actually in LA when something went down about that, which I'd love to talk about, but I would need permission from some people. So anyway, Doug Drexler and them were stoked when Brian Fuller came on because he loves Star Trek, and something happened in Brian Fuller's brain that just was a disaster. So I don't know. Colton Anderson, $2. Thank you. Disco is okay, but I am not liking the CBS direction. What do you mean specifically about that? Like, the direction of the show? That specific show? Or just the company? Because in my mind, CBS, the company, has lost their fucking mind. And, pardon my language, I swear a lot. Just, it's not usually in Trekyards episodes because, But CBS has a real stick up their ass about something, and they are hitting people with cease and desist orders about the stupidest things that you can imagine. And they need to chill the fuck out, is what they need to do. I don't know what's going on at CBS headquarters, but they need to just relax a little bit. Just chill. And all this fan hate for Discovery isn't probably helping that. They're probably like, oh, well, they don't know what they want. And it's getting their back up because they're like, this is our property. We can do what we want with it. And yes, you technically can. But a lot of people say that Star Trek doesn't owe them anything. I somewhat agree with that, but mostly I disagree with it for the simple fact that Star Trek, being what it was, made us fans, and brought us into the fold. So you need to treat us right. I understand you got to grab new people, and that's fine. You can do that by, not fucking it up. But overall, yeah, it's just, it does owe the fans something, in my opinion. CBS does owe the fans something. And a lot of people are on the other side of that argument saying, nope, CBS and Star Trek doesn't owe you a goddamn thing. They can do whatever they want. You have to live with it. To a certain degree, I understand that. But you can make changes, you can modernize things and do it properly to still make everyone happy, the new fans coming in and the older fans that really appreciated the old stuff. Because that's why we're fans, after all. I hope that kind of hit where you were talking about, Colton, about CBS. Because, yeah, they really... I don't know what they're drinking over there, but it ain't good for them. Drinking rubbing alcohol and affecting brain cells. Doc Camo, sorry. $5. Bro, if Q came and said this doesn't look right and snaps his fingers, boom, I would be more than happy. I know. I've been saying that all along. That would be freaking hilarious. Just a random episode. He just shows up and looks around. You can see him in the back of the bridge while the crew is like talking and doing something. And he's like, And then you zoom in on him and he's like, this isn't right. Q, blame another Q for it. Snap his fingers. And then you zoom back to the main characters who are still continuing the discussion. Everything's changed to 1960s look, but more modernized a little bit. Better filming techniques and all that. And they just keep talking and just continue with the episode. And then the rest of the show is just fixed. That would be hilarious. I would love that. And I think everyone that hated Discovery would also love that. That'd be a good way to satisfy them. It'd piss off a lot of people that like Discovery for what it is, though, that just came into it. But whatever. You can't make everybody happy, unfortunately, no matter what you do. £2 from Shepard. Thank you very much. Discovery is prime, like it or not. True enough. That's what they say. So we have to accept that. And we try. That's why here on Trekyards we talk about that with each episode that comes out. We're like, okay, well, they say this is prime, so does it match up with other prime that we've seen? Yes, this has a visual cue that looks very similar. That's fine. That's cool. They did a good job. Awesome. Or this is completely wrong. It's obviously clearly not prime. So that's what we try to do, the good and the bad. So, and again, you can't make everybody happy all the time, but you can sure piss people off no matter what you do. So, Wraith Leader, $2. I would like to see Axanar. I also would like to see Axanar. Prelude to Axanar was stunning. It really pulled me in. That was based on the FASA Axanar storyline and a lot of the FASA ships, which we've talked about in old episodes before the lawsuit, talking about the Axanar ships way back when. If you want to look them up, you can. But yeah, they incorporated FASA ships, FASA storylines for the Axanar thing, and it was really something that I was looking forward to. Unfortunately, as I said, CBS got a bug up their ass, and for good or bad, I mean, whether you agree with it or not, they had their reasons, and you have to live with the fallout from that, and this is where we sit. So, and I think there are a lot of similarities between Discovery and what the Axanar storyline. So I don't know who stole what or what happened, but I think that as far as a competitor, if CBS came out with Discovery as it is now, with the same storyline, Klingon War, same period, blah, 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 and Axanar came out, Axanar would blow it out of the water, and I think that's what CBS was sitting there going, we can't let this happen. We've got all this money invested. That's just my thought. I don't know. Gareth Fairclough, £5 again. Thank you very much, Gareth. You are awesome. Plot twist. The other Q turns up, and we have Q versus Q for some hilarity. Yeah, just clicking their fingers, and everything's changing. Uniforms are changing to like green and puffy, and that'd be hilarious. And meanwhile, nobody that the changes are happening to is aware of what's going on. I would pay to see that. I'd pay a lot of money to see that. Sup, AJ1M, £5. The only Star Trek I'm waiting for is Ira's DS9 documentary. Yes, Ira Stephen Bear and the Deep Space Nine guys. I am looking forward to that documentary so much. I'm so excited for that. There's lots of good stuff still coming. Hopefully the Picard thing won't be ruined. And, there's the other talks of the other ones that they have in the works. So there's a lot of possibility for some good stuff to come out, which you can pick what you want to watch then. You don't want to watch Discovery, that's fine. Just put it on the back burner. You hate Discovery, fine. It's back there. You got other stuff to watch. And I hope that's how CBS plays it. I hope they make it, in the prime continuation from TNG as far as looks and everything go, and don't muck it up by including elements from Kelvinverse or the Discoverse to pull it in and make it something new that they think is going to be fun for people. Because if you have Discovery its own thing, and it's still prime, all you like, you can say that all you like, people can choose to watch it or choose not to. But if you have something else like Picard's show, then the views for that just blow Discovery out of the water. Maybe they'll get the hint. However, with Alex Kurtzman at the helm, or is it Robert Orsi? I can't remember. Alex Kurtzman. Who knows what they're going to do? I just hope they do it well. Colton Anderson, $2. A little explanation would have helped a lot. Again, with what? CBS's decision to sue Axanar? Let me know. Alexander Kolchak, $5. Thank you. Disco can do as it wishes with the timeline. Just let the Picard show have an honest-to-God Kira Sovereign Prometheus. I'd be a happy boy. Yeah, and I think that's a general consensus. Don't, CBS, if you're listening, and I'm sure somebody from CBS is listening, because I know that people at CBS watch our show, don't fuck up the Picard show. Just do the character and do the universe justice, and you will have fixed a lot of wrongs, mended a lot of fences with a lot of people. Sure, not everybody's going to be happy with it. Sure, you're not going to, the diehard haters aren't going to be affected by it, but just do it right and don't fuck it up. But I'd really like some input here as far as the title of this, the whole bringing Star Trek into Discovery by calling it STD. The haters are under the impression that this is not Star Trek, that this is not their Star Trek. And, they're very vocal in this belief, and yet they still insist on calling it STD, which stands for Star Trek Discovery. Just call it Discovery. Just call it Disco. That's the point of this title that I'm trying to get across to you guys. I hope I didn't word it wrong. I was just trying to make it simple and sweet and to the point. And I've already had one person very early on in this, before I even got started talking about it, saying, "That's it, I'm unsubscribing because you're a Discovery hater." Okay, well, you might want to listen to the video again, be informed, instead of being a jackass that doesn't want to watch it and find out what it's actually about. Because that's one of the biggest pet peeves I have, is people that hate on something without having seen it, or seen parts of it, or heard from somebody that it sucks. A lot of the movies that I hear suck from critics or reviewers, I absolutely love, and I think they have their heads up their asses. So I always make sure that I and myself am educated on something before I decide whether I hate it or love it. And a lot of times my opinions vary and change over the course of time. So that's my thought. You got to be educated on something before you can hate it. So Gareth Fairclough again, £2. CBS effed up Picard equals Stewart's rage. Now, you spelt Stewart like Patrick Stewart. So do you think Patrick Stewart will be pissed, or are you talking about me? Because I will be pissed as well. I know what I have in my head envisioned for the Picard show, and that's the problem, I think, a lot of times with this stuff, and why people hate things like Discovery, because they've got it built up in their mind as to what it could be and what it should be, especially according to their head canon. And then when it falls short of that by any stretch of the imagination, they just get uppity, and they just decide not to like it, even though there's a lot of good in it. And there is a lot of good in Discovery, whether you think so or not, whether you're a hater, I don't care. There's a lot about Discovery I like. There's a lot about it that's mediocre that could be done better, and there's a few things that are very shit. That's my opinion of Discovery. I enjoy watching it. Like I said, I don't have to pay for it here in Canada. It's on the Space Network. It's free for me to watch. So I think that changes my mind as well, and gives me a different insight than a lot of people in the US that have to pay for it to see it. I could be wrong, but so anyway, getting back to the heart of the matter and the point of this video. I should do a poll on Twitter or something that says, should Star Trek be associated with Discovery, and get the yes and no's, and I know what it's going to be like. And then once that poll is done, then make a post talking about taking the Star Trek out of STD and just calling it Discovery. Just call it the D. But then you think, when you hear the D, you think of the D. You know. My camera, there we go. My camera hasn't really been autofocusing lately. But no, call it Discovery. Call it Disco. Call it Disco Sucks. Call it Dis. You want a diss on Discovery? Well, call it Dis. But don't pull Star Trek into it if you don't think it's Star Trek. And that's your argument. That's your whole argument. Anyway, I haven't really been watching the chat, and I apologize. But I haven't seen Mecha Random 42 commenting. I don't know if I pissed her off by talking about her. I didn't really talk about her. I just said, she's one of the haters, and she should not call it STD, because I'm just repeating myself now. Wonder if I should do a giveaway. Just don't know what I have to give away. I mean, I've got this Trekyards shirt, which is a medium. I only have a medium left. But if you are interested in this design, the shirt design, I'll send you I'll put a link in the description or in the chat here of where you can where you can buy the shirt and get one for yourself. There. So head on over to everpress.com, Trekyards pinup shirt, and you can get one of these for yourself. Or I'll do a giveaway. I'll do a giveaway on this right now. So we got 15 minutes left before I want to close out. So let's do this. It has to be a super chat, and it has to be a would you rather question. I don't care what it is. Something that makes me laugh, something that makes me smile. But whoever wins will get this shirt. It's a medium Trekyards pinup shirt. So 15 minutes, super chat, just would you rather, as we used before, would you rather be assimilated by the Borg or, have the phage? Anthony Talarco, $5. In my opinion, CBS, so it is to their fan base to do the right thing, because without the fans, CBS has nothing. Exactly, and that's what I've said. We are Star Trek fans for a reason, so don't trample all over us and tell us that our opinion doesn't matter. Alexander Kolchak, $5. Not to hate on the writing, but I feel that the writing could be better. The Expanse, for instance, has wonderful writing and strong female protagonists. Yeah, and I haven't really got into The Expanse. I've watched a few minutes of episodes here and there because it's been on TV and I've caught it. But yeah, it looks like a fantastic show. And yeah, the writing in Star Trek Discovery is one of its pitfalls. It's not great. And there's a lot of loopholes, or a lot of plot holes, a lot of Things that just don't make any goddamn sense. Maddie Lynn, $4.99. Thank you. If STO is canon, CBS might have screwed up already. It will be hard to do a Picard show because they might have to pigeonhole themselves. Well, that's what they always do, though. They always pigeonhole themselves by making a prequel. They did it with Enterprise a little bit, not so much. They definitely did it with Discovery. If they put Picard in there, Star Trek Online isn't really considered canon. It's soft canon. It is licensed by CBS, but it's still... I don't think it falls under the umbrella of canon because it hasn't been seen on a television show that's been produced by CBS. So I don't know if they'd really be pigeonholing themselves too much because there's still another 20 years. Because the Picard show happens 20 years after TNG, but Star Trek Online happens 40 years after TNG ends. So there's still another 20 years after the Picard show. So they have a little bit of leeway there. And I think with modern ship designs, like even with the Discovery and the Shenzhou and stuff, they fit closer into that 20 years after TNG look for me. So their ships will kind of fit the mold and be on their way to Star Trek Online designs. So I don't think that's going to be much of a problem, in my opinion. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it's too much of a pigeonhole that they couldn't fit it in. So hopefully that addressed your concern, Maddie. Gareth Fairclough again, £5. Would you rather see Klingon double dicks for the rest of your life or watch me try to squeeze into that medium? I'd rather watch you try to squeeze into the medium. So there's one. So far you've won it, Gareth. Yay! So I don't know if you know anybody that has could wear a medium, but it's a nice shirt. We've got more designs coming, more pinup designs. I've got a fantastic artist by the name of John Ridley working on some. There's a Klingon pinup, a TOS Romulan, a TOS Andorian, and a few more on the way after that. But we got a few lined up for the first few releases. So the t-shirt URL isn't working. What? It has to work because I got the tab open. I just copied it. Let me refresh and try again. Copy. We're working on getting some online store activity going on, so you can buy some merchandise from us. Like shirts and coffee mugs and stuff like that. It's in the early stages, and hopefully it'll be out soon. There you go. Try that link. That should work fine. Mecha Random 42, are you still here? I need a moderator. She's always really good about putting up the links and stuff for me, but I don't know if I pissed her off. I hope I didn't piss her off. But anyway. Mecca only dropped in. You're fine. All your points are valid. Well, thank you. So yes. Anyway. So is my argument valid? Are the Discovery haters that say it's not Star Trek? It's obviously not Star Trek. I hate this. It's clearly not Star Trek. Are they right in calling it STD and bringing Star Trek into the name of it? Star Trek Discovery? Or is it just, should they call it something else? I don't know. I get the STD thing. I get that it's funny. Ha ha ha. It's Star Trek transmitted disease or a sexually transmitted disease. Whatever. Ha ha. Woohoo. Like I said, it was funny for like a week. Then it just got irritating really quick. Here's some more. Alexander Kolchak, $5. Would you want to be in a jail cell with multiplying Tribbles or an angry tardigrade? Multiplying Tribbles, I think. And maybe the tardigrade, you could calm it down if you're not an idiot like Landry was. What a fucking moron. I hated her character. I'm glad she died in both the Prime universe and the Mirror universe. I hated her. But I mean, the tardigrade was pretty friendly when it was like calm. You just feed it and pet it and stuff. Plus, it doesn't keep pushing you, like, filling up volume and like killing you? That's a good question. Maybe the Tribbles. Shannon Nash, $5. I know Star Trek Online is soft canon, but I would love to see a produced dramatization of some of the storylines. The Romulan arc is amazing. I absolutely agree with you. That would make it for a good animated series, actually. Talking about those storylines in an animated format, I think would work fantastic. Wraith Leader, $5. Note to CBS, if you want to make money, let the Axanar crew make the next series. Ooh. Yeah, and I think CBS took a little bit of a misstep with Axanar. They should have worked together with them and profited off of it instead of... I mean, the big thing that comes up all the time is that Alec Peters was profiting off of the fans and not contributing to the product. And I get that. But CBS could have stepped in and said, we want to buy this from you, or we want a percentage of it. You shouldn't have been doing that. Whatever. We're going to take over the profits on this and, dish out whatever to you. I don't know. It's a catch-22. It's a no-win scenario. Unfortunately, it is the Kobayashi Maru. But it's in the past. It's done. Will Axanar ever happen? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I hope so. They can still produce 2 15-minute long features or vignettes or whatever you want to call them. They can still do 2 15-minute ones. And I don't know where that process is, unfortunately. It was supposed to be done in May of this year again, and it's not done, so I don't know. Yeah. So... David Erickson, $5. Would you rather see a new Star Trek animated series or fix all the problems with Discovery? Like go back in time and fix Discovery? Or leave things with Discovery as it is and just have a new animated series that... That's a good question. Because Discovery could have been fantastic had they done it right. I would love to see a Star Trek animated series of any kind, so I'm going to say that one, because I would love to see an anthology. Every season is a different timeline or a different ship, or even every episode could be that. One episode you're in TOS time, next you're in TNG, the next you're in Enterprise, next you're back in TNG, next you're back in TOS, either on the same ship from the other TOS episode or different. It could do so much with it. Luke 9511, $5. Greeting captains. Hope all is well in the world of Canada. All is well. It's freaking brutally hot here, though. Felt like 43 degrees yesterday with the Humidex. Whew. Today was 41. It's just, you sweat just sitting outside. It's awful. Alexander Kolchak again, $5. Would you rather be stuck in a runabout with Redley Crusher and his crazy science experiments, or Reginald Barclay and his hollow fantasies? Reginald Barclay and his hollow fantasies, obviously. I mean, Barclay's socially awkward, but you get him one-on-one, he's not too bad. I think him and I could relate on a lot of things. Plus, the holodeck fantasies, come on, he could include you in that. You don't have to be in the same room as him with his fantasy, if you know what I'm saying. Holodeck can create multiple rooms, so you can join in on the fantasy, but like in a different part of it. That's the way to go. That's like not even a question. I mean, Wesley's Wesley. I mean, I don't know. Ontario is like the Amazon right now. Q, help us. Amen, brother. Gandalf the White is from Ontario as well? That's awesome. So yeah, hopefully I didn't piss anybody off too much in this talk about taking the Star Trek out of STD. I hope I got my point across about what I meant, and I hope that one guy didn't unsubscribe because of that, because that's just a stupid reason to unsubscribe. I don't even unsubscribe to a channel. I've only unsubscribed from one channel on YouTube in my entire life, and that was Keemstar, because he's a fucking retard. But even if I don't like the way that the shows are going, or I don't watch it very often, I don't unsubscribe because it still shows up in my subscriptions thing. And when they do come up with a good video or something that I do want to watch, it's still there. I think unsubscribing is just silly. So you never piss me off, Cap. Cockings sometimes does, but nah, he's cool too. Well, thank you, Alpha Xerox. Unsubbed, resubbed. Well, thanks. Stuart, don't worry about it. Don't worry about what? Pissing people off? I do worry about it. That used to bug me so much when we started this channel. Every negative comment would really bug me for a long time, but it's got to the point where I don't read them now. And if I do read one, sure, it might bug me for a little while, but not very long. And usually that person gets muted or subbed for life. Thank you, Luke9511. But the negative comments do start to roll off your back after a while. Some really do hit home, but you try to ignore it. Sometimes it affects my personal life. Sylvia will come home and I'll be in a bad mood because I got a nasty comment, and I'm not in a good mood, so I take it out on everybody else. It's not fair, but it's the way it is. So guys, anybody watching this, please spread this word. Spread the word. Spread the gospel of Captain Foley, and make the argument to take the Star Trek, the ST, out of Discovery. Just Discovery. If you're a hater, call it Discovery. 90 Lancaster, you are not muted at all. I can see that you asked, am I muted? I just haven't been able to read these because they've been going really quick. So I apologize if I've missed anything pertinent in the chat, but unfortunately that's how super chats work. The people that pay for the super chat get a little more attention. I would love to be able to talk to all of you and address all these, but they go by so fast. And yeah, I think I've done a lot of talking. I've got 4 minutes left, guys. There's a few people that have entered for the shirt. I still don't know who I'm going to pick. Slow down, people. Let's see here. Trying to pick from the ones I've got which ones I like the best as far as the would you rathers. Anyway, what is this about? Just calling it Discovery instead of Star Trek Discovery. Didn't Enterprise do that? But Jimmy, 1985, you sound like you're new to this. You just came in. So what I'm talking about is all the people that hate Discovery and think that Discovery is not real Star Trek. The haters like Doomcock and a bunch of other channels, they still call it STD. That pulls Star Trek into the name. Star Trek ST, Discovery D. Star Trek Discovery. Just call it Discovery. Just call it Disco. Just call it Disco Sucks. Call it Dis. Dis on Disco. Dis on Dis. I don't care. But STD is really annoying. It was funny for a first little while. I get it, and I understand why they use it. But still, come on, guys. You're really... I don't know what to say. Misvalidating? You're nullifying your points by saying that it's not Star Trek, but still calling it STD. That's the simplest way to put it. If you're a hater and you call it STD, you're bringing Star Trek into the name of it and hurting the name of Star Trek. If you don't want to be associated with Star Trek, don't call it STD. It's pretty simple. Ugh. I don't know why it's so laggy on my end, this whole thing. It's really irritating. Because I can't even move up to see my super chats. Luke 9511. When the Temporal Cold War ended and Daniel said the timeline was resetting, then shouldn't the attack on Earth not have happened? Yeah, exactly, right? Well, it's not mentioned, so I don't know. Pondimus Maximus 499. Trolls are like a never-ending Kobayashi Maru test. Be like Kirk. Do whatever it takes to rise above the clowns. How about calling it Disco, a piss-poor attempt at Trek? Sure. Whatever floats your boat. Oh, Pondimus Maximus, another $4.99. Meant to do $10, but he did two $4.99s. You're still 2 cents short. So give me your 2 cents worth. Talk to me. Just kidding. Anyway, guys, we hit an hour, so we're cutting off the contest. And I'm looking back at these, and I think the one that really, I mean, some of them got me laughs. That's fine. The 2-dick one was funny. The Wesley Crusher one with the Barkley one was interesting. It almost won. But I think I'm going to go with David Erickson. $5 super chat. Would you rather see a new Star Trek animated series or fix all the problems with Discovery? The reason I picked that one is because it's a great question. Both would be good. I'd love to go back in time and fix Discovery because it could have been fantastic. It could have been something really well done. If Samuel and myself had been at the helm, I think we could have done a much better job. But that being said, you leave Discovery the way it is because a lot of people enjoy it, so let them have it. But a new Star Trek animated show that could be an anthology and every episode or every season be something different, a new timeline. You don't have to build sets. All you have to do is the CG work, which is still time consuming but not as bad. I think that'd be the way to go. So David Erickson, shoot me a private message on Facebook or an email at trekyards@hotmail.com. Yes, I know it's a Hotmail address. We get static for that all the time, but when we set it up 4 years ago, that's just the way it is. So Eric or David Erickson, if you want to get your medium Trekyards pinup shirt, by all means shoot me a private message on Facebook or email us at trekyards@hotmail.com with your address, and I'll make sure I get this sent out either probably not this week, probably early next week. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for joining me. It's been fun, and like I said, spread the word. If you run into a Star Trek hater or Star Trek Discovery hater that doesn't think Discovery Star Trek, please by all means use what I've talked about today, taking the ST out of STD, getting Star Trek out of the name, so it's because it's clearly not Star Trek to them. So let them have it, and just say, take Star Trek out of that name. I don't want to see ST in there. It's Discovery for you guys. Anyway, I am going to let you go. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Like I said, Sylvia might be joining me on Saturday for another live if we can find an interesting topic to talk about. And Samuel and myself will still be doing our Sunday live together, but Samuel either later this week, tomorrow or Friday, or on the weekend sometime, I think is going to be doing his own live as well. I don't know what he's going to talk about, but might be worth tuning in for that. A lot of people prefer the commander over the captain, and that's fine. You're wrong, but fine. That's fine. So check that out. Anyway, guys, I'm calling it quits for tonight. I'm going to go upstairs and watch some TV. I don't know what I'm going to watch yet, but we're going to watch something and hang out with the wife. So love you guys. Live long and prosper. And don't forget, let's take the Star Trek out of Discovery if you don't like it. Bye, everybody.